What's up, Stackers? Jackass here, bringing you a deck profile of our Dragonic Blademaster deck. If you missed it, Cooj did do one of Kagero Overlords. If you missed my last one, that was on Pale Moon, Magia Harry. Again, this time we are doing Blademaster, another of the subgroups for Kagero. It doesn't get as much support as the Overlords, but it's still a fun deck to play. For our grade 3 lineup, we do have Dragonic Blademaster. Dragonic Blademaster does have a GB2 skill that when you have more rearguards than an opponent, he does gain 5,000 and a critical. However, during your turn, when you stride over the top of him, for Counterblast 1, you can retire a unit. It's good for sniping. Taishan, the grade 4 version, already does a lot of field control. However, when you're doing your first stride or something like that, or you don't have enough Taishans to control everything, it's just another option if you say you can't Radiant Dragon or do something along those lines. For our backup, we are running 4 Dragonic Overlord the Legend. The Legend does also have a GB2, which is Counterblast 1, pitch a grade 3, Flame Dragon. He gains 15,000, grade plus 1 and drive plus 1, and when he attacks a rearguard, he can restand. We mainly run him, though, for his second ability, which is Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. When this unit is placed on Vanguard, you can check the top 5, search for a Flame Dragon, add it to your hand. He also does let us splash in a copy of the Ace, which is really great. It's kind of one of those surprise cards where, like, oh, Blademaster, you don't have the... Oh, crap. He's not a bad ride target, especially with Taishan having Blademaster in the name. A lot of the cards still go off anyway. And he just gives us more options, and compared to a lot of the other Blaze grade 3s, he just turns out to be superior most of the time. For our grade 2s, we are running 4 of Radiant Dragon. He is our Glimmer Breath clone. Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. You can retire a grade 1. Remember, it's grade 1 unit when you have Blademaster in the name. So he only works on either A, the Blademaster grade 3, or B, when you're strided into Taishan. He does not work any other time. Do keep that in mind. But you do pop a grade 1. He gains +2 until the end of the turn. And then if you're blazing, he gets +2 for every empty rearguard circle. So he has the potential to be a 21k. His cost is pretty cheap, especially with the grade 1. We'll get to him. I can actually pull him out real quick. Nadell. Dragon Knight Nadell. As when a unit is popped, you countercharge, give it +4k, so you can turn it into a 32k column. Not a lot of people tend to expect that. It does cause a couple of situations where your opponent is just like, oh crap. Next, we are running 4 Dragon Knight Nadim. Nadim does give us an early game presence where he does gain +2 if your Vanguard's blazing. If your say you got to go second, you can drop your grade 2, drop in a dim. Usually they won't have 2 rear guards on the field. So then you have an 11k and your 14k, and it's just a good time. Next we are running Knight of Flame Dragon Bar. Bar is a GB1. Put a grade 3 or greater Flame Dragon from your drop zone into the bottom of your deck. He's a 15k intercept. A lot of the time he's going to be a lightning rod for your opponent, with either A, he's going to eat an attack because your opponent wants to get rid of the 15k intercept, or B, your opponent's going to forget about him, and you can get a 30k guard with a G guard in him and all these other crazy plays. Bar is there because Blademaster really don't have a super tight lineup. They're just... Bushi's been really good about giving us support, at least in the last set, but we don't have enough to go, hey, well, these are staple cards now. But that also gives us flexibility, and that gives us something like Bar, where we can run it because it works for us. For our grade 1 lineup, we are running the 4 Protector of Dragons. In this meta, you can actually make a case that with Dimension Police being back in, and the mirror match, things like that, not necessarily an exact mirror match, but if someone's running like the Cross is still a relevant card. They have to hit. You could run Rhino Cross, which is I believe is the other PG, that's the Flame Dragon, to protect your rear guards. However, I personally get a little bit counterblast greedy at times, so I do like to run the unflippers. That and Kagero is such a Vanguard-centric deck that a lot of your pressure is going to be coming from your Vanguard swing versus your rear guard. So you don't really need to protect him, especially with Radiant Dragon being on drop. You can let him go, put something else in. We are running 4 Stride Fodders, Lava Flow, Pitch, Shred. It's a G-based deck. We need to shred as often as we can. This just increases our chances. One of the MVPs of the deck, Dragon Knight Nadell. When your rear guard's opponent is put in a drop zone due to effect, if you have a Vanguard with Draconic Blademaster, you can, if your Vanguard's blazing, you can countercharge 1, give him +4 until the end of the turn. So with Radiant Dragon, that becomes a 32k column. With Nadim, he becomes a 22k column. Behind the he's really the engine behind the deck, and it gives us a counter charge. It gives us a lot of our power. He's one of our more important units. You want to get him out. Lizard Soldier Grom is my last 2. It's my tech in choice. Soul Blast 2, counter charge 2. Only soul that's really being used in this deck is for Radiant Dragon, but we only use 4 copies of him, and we can only place him down 4 times. Janot, Sadeg, Gatling Claw, they all go into the soul, so you're going to have soul that's sitting there. You could run Wyvern Tower. However, again, I get a little counterblast greedy, and there are times where it's like, oh, well, I want to do this skill, and I'm going to drop him and do more skills. It gives you flexibility, and it's come in clutch for me. You, again, can change this to whatever you like. The Monk is also a good option. Then when something goes in the drop zone, it gives +5. More power. It's always great. Forces more guard. But again, this is my personal
Going
choice.
into our grade zeros,
we do have Dragon Knight Sadeg. Sadeg is one of the better starters right now for Kagero in at least almost all the decks. As with Denial Griffin, Defeat Fire Griffin, Radiant Dragon, things like that, you can retire something from the field and then force your opponent to choose another. Aquaforce players get disrupted by this all the time. Anything that's rear guard dependent. Say they only drop 2 rear guards. Well, retire 1, choose 1. Their field is gone. It adds a lot of awkward pressure to your opponent's turn. You can run the other grade 0, or even the grade 3 searcher, but there is a specific one for Blademaster that was recently errated to where it searched for a grade 3 or a unit with Blaze. Before it was a grade 3 with Blaze, so it was kind of clunky. However, going into our crits, we are running 4 Dragon Knight Janot. If you have a Vanguard with Draconic Blademaster in the name, put this in the soul, give another unit or give your Vanguard +5, draw a card. You see these cards a lot in almost every other deck. It's actually techable into an Overlord deck also because of the fact that you are running Taishan, as most Kagero decks do now. But this can go off right when you ride grade 3. When you're shredding, doesn't really care. It's going to do it a lot. We are also running Blu-ray Draco Kid, 3 of. Can be whatever. It's really just 7 crit. I personally love the art on Draco Kid compared to everything else. We are running 1 Seal Dragon art pick. He's the Margle clone. Put him in the soul, get +3. Running 5 draw. You could run 8. I wanted a little bit more draw though. But we don't. We have the MPV or MPV. The MVP draw trigger, which is counterblast 1, put him in your soul, retire grade 0. There are so many decks that rely on having your grade 0. Shadow Paladin still have it. Gear Chronicles, Prisms, Harmony. I could go on all the decks that just utilize their starters. We'll take that out of the game. You have the advantage right off the bat. Plus, they lose the pressure of the extra 5k, so now a lot of things become, okay, 5k is enough for 1 to pass, or 10k is a no pass. Lastly, we're running 4 Mother Orb Dragons. With the Legend skill, you can search for it. If you're ahead, it's okay to actually pull it, because then you can get the G-Guard, something like that. But, again, you just want more Flame Dragons. You want more targets for the Legend if you have to ride them. I've only had to ride them in a couple games. Usually I get pretty lucky about getting Blademaster. But when I don't, the Legend still has so much versatility that you really don't care. The deck just kind of works either way. Going into the grade 4, we are running 1 of Flame Emperor Dragon King, a Seal Orb Dragon. If your opponent has 4 or less rear guards, which with the mechanics of Kagero should be most of the time, he gets an extra +5 and becomes a 20k guard. We do have 3 Flame Wing Steel Beast Denial Griffin. Kagero is one of those decks where our focus is retire. Flame Wing lets us do that on our opponent's turn. Counterblast 1, retire an attacking rear guard. Something like this where, okay, your opponent swings with the Vanguard. You perfect guard it. They get crazy triggers, 3 critical triggers. They have a bunch of power already on the rear guard. Flame Wing just says sit down. Flame Wing doesn't care. Aqua Force players, when they need to get 4th battles, you can Flame Wing, Sedeg, 2 are gone, boards out of loop. What happened? Flame Wing is just too good in a lot of the opportunities. And unfortunately, we can't run the other G-Guard where defeat Flare Dragon because we're Blademaster focus. It's not often that we're going to be on the legend to defeat Flare. But if we could, it'd be awesome. However, 3 Denial Griffin is still a lot for a lot of people to counter. Have 1 Sabreeze if they try to grade 2 game us. We don't necessarily need it, but the deck is a lot of GB units. So you Sabreeze, Counterblast 2. Hey, you get the shred. It also punishes them too if like they miss a G assist, which is argued that it's kind of scumbaggy, but in a tournament you're trying to win. That's the focus of it. Locals, sometimes they go easy, but yeah, tournament, it's one of those decks where you can afford to run in. Next, we have a one of Vortex Desire. On hit or on swing, you can flip over another unit in your G zone. Usually, we'll flip Sabreeze or something like that, or flip over a Titan so we can set up the next turn. The Vortex Desire. On hit, you retire 1 for each unit on your Vanguard circle, so you retire 2 on hit. Next, we're going to run 2 of the Ace. And the Ace is one of those cards where, where a Vanguard, or our Vanguard is Blademaster. Why do you have the Ace in here? Titan lets us flip anything. And our backup grade 3 is the Legend. If we get into an awkward situation where we had to ride the Legend, say we already had the Stride in hand, say we already did a Generation Guard, with the Legend's placement, we can flip another. Say we could pull the Legend, or say we already had it in hand and we're just on the Legend, you can use the Ace. And a lot of people don't expect it, and especially once they see Blademaster cards, or it's just one of those pressure cards, because the Ace is going to be a restander. It's gains +5, and it's an extremely effective turn against your opponent when we're not running this guy. For Supreme Heavily Emperor Dragon Draconic Blademaster Titan, he's Counterblast 1, GB2, retire everything, or not retire everything, but it's retire 1 for each face of Titan. And so if you Vortex Desire, or say you vanilla strided Titan because you're on the Legend, you have at least 1 in your G zone. From there, you retire 1, you have Blademaster skill, you have Radiant Dragon. The next time, and when he goes into Blaze, he gains a critical. So it's a Vanguard swing with a crit that retires the field. Titan is super strong. And the more you keep doing them, the more you're going to have face up in your G zone. So first turn, okay, I popped 1. Next turn, I popped 2. Next turn, I popped 3. They live 3 Titans. You got 1 more card to finish it off. Nouvelle Vague Express. Counterblast 1. Your opponent cannot call grade 1s. Trigger effects are nullified if they're at 5. This card has caused so many people to rage. Its effect is continuous. A lot of people don't realize this. With Vague, if you swing or your rear guard and they hit a heal trigger, it's not just Nouvelle's turn that they're at 5. it's the entire turn. Your rear guards hit them. Trigger's nullified. Trigger's nullified. Oh, okay. That and with the guard break, you have Nadell that gives it the extra power. So you have an 11k booster behind this that turns into a 37k column. I've gotten this up to 3 different triggers on it. It was overkill, but Nouvelle is just too important. And at least with our Stride Zone, a lot of the time, like I said, you're going to be flipping the Ace for Taishan. You're going to be going into Nouvelle. So mainly it goes Vortex, Taishan, hit him again. Just keep hitting them. You flip the Sabreeze, you flip the Aces, you flip Vortex, because Vortex, say you did Vanilla, you can then flip them. But it's just, there's so much pressure from your Stride Zone. And that's where the deck really synchronizes with each other and the skills on your rear guards. It's one of my favorite decks. Alright, Sackers, that's going to do it for my profile on my Dragonic Blademaster deck. If you have any tips, you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. We usually check those pretty regularly, or one of the other Sackers will let us know. Check out our Facebook page, leave us a like, subscribe if you want more. Let us know if there's any profiles you want to see, any matches you want to see. We'll try to accommodate those as best we can. Do remember this kind of dependent on what decks we have also. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.